This video goes over your Module 12 exit ticket. For question 1, we're given a triangle with 2 angle measures given, and we're solving for that third missing angle. To solve this, we need to keep in mind that all interior angles have to add to 180. So we can say 70 plus 75 plus x, our unknown angle measure, is equal to 180 degrees. We can then add these two, which gives us 145 plus x equal to 180, and then we just solve for x. We subtract 145 from both sides. That cancels, and we're left with x is equal to 35 degrees. Question 2 is giving us 4 triangles, and we're trying to see which statement is true. All of these statements have to deal with the value of W, angle W, so we're going to go ahead and solve for this angle measure right here. To do that, we're going to have to back up and solve for Z. So that's our first step. We know that those 3 interior angles of the triangle must add to 180, so we can do 180 is equal to 45 plus 60 plus Z, and then solve that to figure out the measure for angle Z. We know that 45 plus 60 is 105. We're then going to subtract that from 180 to get Z on its own. We're left with 75 is equal to Z. Then we're going to use our exterior-interior angle sum theorem, the fact that W and Z are supplementary, to solve for angle W's measure. So we're going to take 180, and we know that 75 plus W must equal 180. We then subtract 75, and we end up with 105 as our answer for our measure of angle W. For question 3, we're giving 4 sets of parallel lines with transversals, and we're trying to figure out the value of x, which is right here. We're going to focus on just solving for angle x and ignore the other 3 parallel lines and transversals that were given. Because we know that this angle here is 75 degrees and that x is in that same relative location where it is crossing the transversal, we know that x has to equal 75 because those are corresponding angles. So looking at our answer choices, we know that the value of x should be 105 is false, value of x is 70, and finally 140. Those are all incorrect. And we know that B is our answer because the value of x should be 75 because angles shown are congruent. For question 4, we're told that triangle DOG is similar to triangle CTA. If the following information is true, what is the measure of angle T? So we're trying to solve for this angle measure here. So to start off, we're going to figure out which angles are congruent by stacking our letters to find those corresponding angle locations. So from this, we find out that D corresponds with C, O corresponds to T, and G goes with A. So these pairs are congruent to one another. So let's go ahead and fill in what information we know from triangle DOG so we can solve for that missing angle measure of T. If I know that angle D is 60 degrees, that means angle C is also going to measure 60 degrees. I then can just use my knowledge of the inside angles or interior angles of a triangle, needing to add to 180 to solve for T. So I can do 60 plus 93 plus our missing angle measure of T is equal to 180. When I add 60 and 93, I get 153 plus the missing angle measure of T equals 180. We subtract to solve, those cancel, and we're left with T is equal to 27 degrees. For question 5, we're once again given 4 sets of parallel lines with transversals, and we're trying to figure out which statement is true. Each of these statements has to do with the value of x, and they're all different, so let's go ahead and solve. X is found here, and 79 is the only other degree measure we have on this set of parallel lines with a transversal. When we think about parallel lines and transversals, we know that specific angles are congruent, and those are going to be angles that are in the same location and their opposites. So we know that this angle, that angle, this angle, that angle, they are all congruent. Looking at 79 and X, let's see if they fall into that pattern. They do. That means that 79 must be equal to X because the two angles are congruent.